Okay. I'll give here. What's going on, guys? This is Mage, and I do have a guest
And
on the
this
line.
is Vivan.
What's going on, Vivan? We are here bringing you match number 3 of Ugri's FFA challenge. For those of you not aware, it is the latest in his installment of community-funded, but mostly Ugri-driven tournaments. He's put on a number of 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, and FFA. And this one should be fun. Vivan, why don't you go ahead and give a little bit of an introduction about yourself for those that might not be familiar, and then we can kind of talk about the format of this tournament and what we might be expecting.
Hey, yeah, I'm a longtime free-for-all player. I'm also an admin of our FML with the Free-for-all Masters League. And yeah, I've been playing free-for-all for a long time. As initially was a solo semi-pro. I'm Korean, I grew up in Korea. And I played a little bit in their solo scene back at the height of Warcraft in 2003 to 7 in Korea. Transitioned to free-for-all, and fell in love with it and haven't looked back.
That's awesome. And for those of you who may not have heard my voice in a long time, or perhaps never have, my name's Mage, and I was a FML admin for a long time. I suppose technically I may still be an admin of the league, but Hightac does all the work these days. And I kind of started the FML YouTube and Twitch channels, and grew into love casting, watching free-for-all. Occasionally played it on my own, pretty horrible at it. Played a few games recently. I can confirm I'm still very, very bad at the actual game of Warcraft, but have a blast with it. And so this tournament is really, pretty special because it's got some great names in it that we don't usually get to see, like Hawk. We've got a mix of great, just general free-for-all Masters League players, and then a couple of wild cards thrown into the mix. And so there are 36 players in all in the tournament. There are going to be 6 initial rounds, 3 games played at what is noon Eastern, 1800 European time, then 3 more matches played at 1400 Eastern, 20 o'clock in Europe, and then after that we will have the finals. So only the winner from each of these matches is going to move on to the finals, which will be cast by Back to Warcraft, which is always very exciting to see them get mixed into the fold here. So Vivan, what are you kind of expecting from this? And I'm just kind of going around the map in a little bit of a clockwise order, looking at our different players. So if you want to start with just your overall expectations for this map, and then maybe we can talk about what Orange is doing and move our way clockwise around.
Yeah, so Silverpine is a very classic free-for-all map. It's a kind of a favorite from a lot of players. 6-player map, which the normal thing about a free-for-all is that typically it's a 4-player game. So what we're doing for the Ugri's challenge, that's going to be a full game, 6 players. Everyone only gets 1 natural, and that's it. So I expect the games to be pretty furious. It'll be insane. Lots of action all over the place. So right now it's pretty standard stuff. Everyone's just kind of creeping their natural, getting their expansions up. But we see, interestingly, already a clash between Misterwinner and was that the TGW for green for the Great Wall?
Yeah, green
Russian
is Great Wall.
Okay.
And so Misterwinner is pretty much a pure solo player as far as I'm aware, at least. Great Wall is both a solo but also a long history of free-for-all, and really does kind of get the game type. So he's obviously pretty annoyed by the fact that Misterwinner is harassing him early on. We do see the Archmage forced to TP out here, so Great Wall gets the early advantage here. But this is certainly an interesting strategy, one that likely isn't going to pay off, especially as you're rushing against Great Wall and perhaps not a typical free-for-all player who is a little bit weaker in solo. If you're able to take somebody out very early on, I could see that being a high-risk, high-reward play, but it doesn't seem like Misterwinner is playing the percentages right now while attacking Great Wall.
Yeah, so like one thing that is, well, I mean, obviously there's a lot of difference between free-for-all and the other game formats, but generally speaking, you really do not want to be rushing a player very early, because while you're doing that, sure, you might deny this one player. There are 4 other players now on this map creeping, getting expanded, and so it's just counterproductive in the long run to Usually, like it's very rarely can work out, but like in this case, when especially against Dreadlord, like he got TP'd out, and that's didn't accomplish very much. He doesn't have his own expansion to go. So
we do see red. Hein is forced to TP out as Hawk gets the Shredder. Hein was waiting to, I don't know if he was planning on actually going ahead and creep at the camp or just doing a Shredder pull. We see Hawk has to TP out there as he was unable to actually take the creep camp, it looked like. But obviously with this map, the first 2 Shredders are going to be incredibly important, just because wood is always a problem in free-for-all as you're trying to accomplish teching, upgrading your armor, and building troops all at once. Early game wood is one of the hardest commodities to come across, and we saw that Hawk got one of the Shredders. Surprisingly, nobody went for the bottom right Goblin to grab the other Shredder. Very odd to see in free-for-all.
yeah, they're usually very hotly contested, and you can get the Shredder at, when you look at the map or the time at the top of this screen, once the 4th dot comes in, that's when their Shredder is available at night. So we see, let's see here. Okay, red is checking to see it. Yep, he's going to grab it.
There we go, and we can see kind of a typical pull there. It looks like red may actually have to fight with Eshan here for it, who is Nightwing. Does look like Nightwing probably is just trying to grab his own Shredder, doesn't realize that it's been taken yet.
Yeah.
And here we see in the bottom right continuing skirmishes between Misterwinner and the Great Wall. TGW, I think, has a pretty good understanding here that Misterwinner is going to continue attacking him and seems pretty blindsided as to what the actual goal of this should be. So my guess is that we're going to see them continuing to fight for a while, if only because until Misterwinner loses, which I presume he is going to at some point, either to TGW or somebody else. TGW is not going to be able to establish a pretty solid economy or really go on with the game that he needs to be able to go on with. He's certainly getting the better of Misterwinner right off the bat, it looks like. We see a couple of footmen go down, the Archmage died. So he's in pretty good shape, I would say, in terms of just pure fighting right now, but we can see most other folks have been able to get their economy and their expo up and running naturally. If you look at the gold count on the right-hand side, you can see this is really hurting both Misterwinner and TGW.
Yeah, we also have other skirmishes going on. Hawk is actually going after Gladius, and he's going to take that expansion.
Yep.
He's in a pretty good position. He got their Shredder, and he's now taking that expansion as well.
And Kaleidoscope, I believe we decided was GiventoFly, which is not a player that I'm familiar with. I'm not sure if you are or not.
That's not someone I'm familiar with either now.
Okay, well, we're supposed to have Hightac joining us at some point. We can make him give us a little bit of recap
He's
on
here.
all the players.
He's
there
here.
it is.
Hey, what's up? There he is.
What a
Ted
perfect
Admin
I want
entrance.
to
Hightac.
interrupt you. Hey.
What's going on, Hightac? Why don't you give a little bit of an introduction about yourself for those that might not be familiar, and then maybe you can give us a recap on all the players in this match, since you know them better than we do.
Sure. Like, if the match isn't over by then, which hopefully isn't. Yeah, Hightac, that's me. Adminning FFA Masters League since 2017, I think, or end of 2017, and trying to do my best to keep everyone in peace and in check. But that's, don't want to talk about me too much. This game here, I think, is a pretty interesting one, not least since it's the only match in this, or one of the only 2 matches in this first round here played on one of the traditional maps that we all know. And yeah, as you already mentioned, we have Misterwinner and Hawk from the 101 fraction here. Not overly experienced in FFA. Hawk played way more than Misterwinner, I guess, but still, he's not a fan of the classic FFA style, so that's probably a reason why he's pushing here, although that might be more viable in 6-way anyways. Then we have Hein, who is a pretty decent ladder player and participated in some of the Russian Cups. So Resurrection Cup, for example, he was a player in, and the Great Wall here in green, I guess, is the favorite in this with Eshan. Very experienced. I haven't seen him with Undead yet, though. So that's very interesting. Usually human or night elf. And last but not least, we have Eshan, who I wouldn't be surprised if he sneaks the win here, because, I mean, we all know he's very good in just knowing what's going on, and it doesn't seem as if he's going to be rushed here, which would be, I guess, his weakness.
Yep, no, he seems to have gotten a little bit of a free pass here. We can see Hawk trying to take down this harder creep camp, having some issues with it, actually, which is always a little bit interesting to see solo players struggling against some of these creep camps. Usually, you know, fighting the hard red camps is not a normal part of a solo game. And then in the top left, we also see that Hein and Kaleidoscope are GiventoFly. Looks like they're having a little bit of a skirmish for that creep camp as well. I've been a little bit surprised at these middle camps not going earlier. I feel like in FML 4-way matches, you know, those are pretty easy to creep and get taken down pretty early on. And oof, Hawk here having to TP out. Are we going to see a skirmish between Hein and Kaleidoscope? Nope, they seem fine to let each other peace. But while we see Great Wall destroying Imperius over at Misterwinner, what are kind of your thoughts as to how these games have progressed so far in terms of the differences in the 6-way and the cast of characters as opposed to the normal 4-ways?
I think it's I personally think 6-way is always very tricky to play because it's not as much chaos as 8-way. But you have less, like an 8-way, you usually, since you have 4 1-on-1s, you usually have a bit more time, I feel, like after the initial 1-on-1 to recover. In 6-way, like 6-way can just logically turn into a 3-way way quicker than an 8-way, because you don't have, like an 8-way results in an 8-way results in 2 1-on-1s still if 4 players are defeated, and that's not the case in a 6-way. So I think it's less, like, I think you really need to not focus only on the early game, but also be prepared to defend right after, because it's much like I think you get attacked much more quickly once you defeated your first enemy. So I think it's great on a map like this to really take an early fight, though. So I mean, TGW got rushed, but still he has now decent levels, and there are not that many creeps for 6 players on a map like this.
And there we go. We do see Misterwinner actually tapping out already and saying GG. So just like that, when 13 minutes into the game, we're down to 5 people.
And Great Wall already has a low fight, so it's really smart of him to go Dreadlord first and using a Google, which is not a common strategy for free for all. Typically, the standard is to just kind of like solo. You open up with like a Fiend build, get Death Knight, Lich, Dreadlord. But in these very fast games, like, having the Dreadlord higher level is so valuable.
And something we should mention is like the scoring system. Usually in FML, we have no timer in our games. So there is, like, the game only ends once a player really won the game, based on what happened. But in this one with a timer, there is a potential of a player winning the game despite being in a very bad spot just by getting top score. So if the timer is up, the player with top score wins, except if that player was defeated. So a defeated player cannot win based on top score. So that favors a more safe, like a style like Eshan here with a couple of towers. I think that favors him, because obviously you don't just want to get defeated quickly if you have a chance to get to top score, but still you want to take fights at some point.
Okay, and we do see that it looks like Hawk and Kaleidoscope are going to have a little skirmish here. What do you guys think about Hawk here? I mean, in his army composition and him pushing. This seems like in a 6-way, as you're talking about, there is a large advantage to be able to take somebody out, especially if you can get their expo and get their base. Do you guys think he's making the right call right now? I know people may be inclined to criticize solo players for playing a little too much like solo, but to me this seems like probably a pretty good move for him.
It seems okay, and Hawk has, I believe, played free for all. He's not completely foreign to the playstyle and kind of the politics and dynamics of a free for all game. He's gone straight to tier 3, gone into Innerfire Griffins, whereas like Kaleidoscope is still only tier. Well, he's on the way to tier 3, but he's pretty handily owning Orange here.
Yeah, but Orange is continually harassing Hawk's base. I mean, I guess because he figures he can't take the fight, so that's definitely going to hurt Hawk's economy, but I have a hard time imagining Orange is going to be able to stay in this game for very much longer, to be honest. And ooh, we do see, looks like Nightwing here might be deciding to attack Great Wall. In fact, I suspect Great Wall is not going to take that kindly. Here we go, we do see a couple of TPs coming out of Orange and Hawk, so both of them are going back to their respective bases. Great Wall creeping up, trying to get that Death Knight up to level 3 at least, and did unsummon, so it looks like Great Wall, for now at least, may be willing to let Nightwing have that expansion.
Yeah, Great Wall isn't in a position to contest at all. He has no upgrades, for instance. He only have 1-0 on his gargoyles. Lich is low. Getting level 3 Death Knight will help.
Down goes the Brewmaster on that one. Looks like Kaleidoscope is short-lived, and will probably be tapped out here. I do not know if there is Observer on defeat. Hightac, that would be a question for you.
Yeah, there is. It's full ops, so he should know. Like, he has joined several in-house games, so it's like, it's only ladder really. Only ladder really where you can't ops after on defeat, but in in-house and league matches you usually can. But I guess it doesn't hurt for him to just wait and see.
Yep. Looks like that probably will be the case for him. So we're going to be down to 4 players shortly in less than 20 minutes into the game. Do you guys kind of expect this to turn into a more typical 4-player FFA match, or do you think that we're going to continue to see this high level of action? And yes, ping over here, we can see that Eshan is starting to go ahead and build at least a farm over here, hiding it for late game. Typical play of somebody who has played a lot of free-for-all and knows exactly what type of trouble could occur later on.
Yeah, and Eshan is, I mean, that's a difficult thing right now for him here, because in this kind of 4-way, some players have not fouled yet. And you have a player like Hawk in here, who we see smells blood. I don't expect Hawk to sit on 50 for some time now. He is 70 supply, so I think he will go right for the next attack. So I think it will be up to Hawk. But also Eshan, I think, is forced into fighting here, and Hein is too. Like, I think Hein hasn't fouled yet, right?
He's had a couple skirmishes, but yeah, no big battles.
Yeah.
We can see he's up to 77, though. Looks like he's moving in Hawk's direction, at least. I think he may not realize that Orange has pretty much been essentially taken out of the game, or perhaps he's just going in for a mercy killing to try and get rid of all his buildings.
Yeah, it seems he's going for Hawk here, which I think is a good call. And I think it would be nice for the Great Wall and Eshan to fight. Like, for both of them, I think it would be good here. And it seems Eshan is a bit undecided here, undecisive what to do. I mean, usually in 4-way, if it's a normal 4-way, you don't want to attack prematurely and lose, because once you get into the 3-way, it will be balanced, and you have a much higher chance to remain in game compared to 4-way.
Oh, Spell Shield Amulet. Eshan's gonna take.
It's expensive. He has absolutely no gold.
Yep.
Yeah, that's always the tricky part, is that in these low econ games, like, you see like a big ticket item like that, or do you like 600G when you're already, you have no gold and you're in upkeep is a lot.
Yeah.
But it's probably safer. He's in a position, he's not in any active current fight, and Great Wall is not, well, he's not responding to Sean's request for a fight, or if he's going to fight, but he doesn't exactly know, but it's safe to take for right now. Oh, and Holy Roar, goddamn. Item-wise, he's doing pretty good.
Yep, and those items, certainly, especially if they're not going to be a whole lot of big fights, could pay off exponentially. It is amusing to me to see Hawk being one of the loudest talkers in this game, given the solo players typically have a reputation for disliking having chat in the games. So it's good to see he's adapted quickly to that. And the observers have probably seen a bunch of chat flying through the screen recently. What's your opinion, Vivan, on, are any of these players taking that seriously at this point, or are they pretty much just focused on themselves, given there's still 4 players left in the game?
I would guess more the latter. They're still focused kind of like their one-on-one or their current situations. That's just one of those things that comes with experience and playing the format. Is like trying to always be cognizant of the fact that, hey, there are other players in the game. They may be fighting. I need to keep an eye on them, because like one thing that is, and even very experienced free-for-all players like suffer from this. I know I've done it. For instance, like you get sometimes people get tunnel visioned in their one-on-one, not realizing, hey, across the map you got two people fighting, and hey, look, the other dude is 666 hero, has half the map. Oh no, we should have pieced a long time ago. Maybe gotten some gold or something, so that way isn't such a huge imbalance of power.
Yep, that completely makes sense, and I think that you're likely right on that front. Hightac, you are one of the instrumental people in making these matches happen. You certainly know the most about these players. Has this kind of unfolded the way you expected so far? And what are some of the things that you think are perhaps critical mistakes that could cost people later on, or any really good moves that you've seen so far?
I think it really depended on the spawns. So it's exactly as expected. Hawk and Misterwinner were the two players that rushed, while TGW and Eshan were the ones that at least planned to stay a bit more passive. So no real surprises here, and I think it's very interesting to see these many human players here. So that's very interesting, because it's a very strong human map, I think.
Yeah, we do see Hawk came into this fight looking like he was in a pretty strong position, but just the way that he was positioned in this fight, it looks like he's having to retreat a little bit. A little too early to tell if he's trying to kite. However, these mortars are pretty exposed. I'm surprised that Hein is not doing more to focus them down and try and take him out, because the tanks are getting a little bit low. His gyros have pretty much been destroyed, and the rifles are taking a beating from these water elementals at the moment. It does look like Hawk is basically just trying to use his solo skills to kite out units one by one, take down some of these tanks. Meanwhile, it looks like Hein is pretty content to go back to his Expo and try to defend that. May not realize that he has a couple of tanks that are being taken down by Hawk. But we see he's at 69 food versus Hawk at 80, although Hawk has a cap of 90 right now. What are your guys' initial thoughts on how that first fight went between them? As we see, it looks like Hawk is going to try and re-engage here. He is only 450 experience away from mass TP.
Let's see here. It looks like Heinz is doing a pretty good job of holding things off. Let's see here. Hero levels are looking pretty decent for Hawk.
Yeah, that level 3 Mountain King is tearing through right now, it looks like, and Hein is able to escape. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like Hawk might have gained the upper hand in that fight. I think Hein had an upper hand earlier on, but so far pretty even, and certainly not anything that's going to kill either one of those players.
Just to double check, because I haven't been checking with Warcraft 3, this is the current patch version. Like, Stomp has 1 extra cooldown, Mana Pendant is 50 less energy, right?
Should be.
Okay, so it is the change.
And sometimes with these items, I'm really confused sometimes with these item lists, how it exactly, because we had some of the map files where for some reason it varied in some of the. I don't know. Like it was obviously like a map that we played with the latest patch, but for some reason some of the items have not been adjusted. But I'm no map maker, and it's sometimes really difficult to keep track.
It should be noted that items have been in high demand so far this game. We saw TGW just picked up a Staff of Silence, which is obviously one of the strongest items in the game. Hawk has gotten the Pendant Mana on his Mountain King, as well as Medallion of Courage, the Warsong Battle Drums. We talked about this a little bit earlier on when Nightwing was picking up some of the items, like the Spell Shield at his base. What are your guys' thoughts on, in a game like this, where there's going to be a limited amount of gold because of the nature of a 6-way, the importance of items, which items are really worth getting, which ones might be kind of a sucker's bet to try and get?
I think it's since it's a quick, like it wasn't a long 6-way still, so it's like there's plenty of gold on the map, so I think it's fair to spend spend gold on some of the very strong items, but I don't think it's worth to spend gold on like the second tier of items, simply because it's even the best items usually won't help you to win the game if you don't get out enough units early. because like a spell shield on a level 2 paladin.
Mage.
Oof,
Ooh.
down goes the Archmage, and this is not good for Nightwing. He does TP out there,
Yeah,
fortunately had him
yeah.
on the Paladin, but he's down to
Thoroughly
57.
knowing
And I'm not
that-
sure why he
Mountain
took
King
that.
did not TP.
Oh shit! But he doesn't see it. Wow, that's amazing. I've never seen that really. No, but what I was about to say, I think for someone like in Eshan's position right here, I think it's a perfect call for him with the human race here to go up in gold and then try to take a fight on 100 supply, because you get way more points also for the end game score. Like Hawk had these early 80 supply fights, but you tend to get way more points quickly if you fight on 100 against 100. So that's why I think it could have been better for him to sit a bit longer still.
Yeah, he has the inferior hero levels. So at least if you're in
Yeah.
80 versus 80, especially in a mirror match, if you have less hero levels, it's like a significantly big disadvantage. Whereas if you have sure, their spells do more damage, they heal more, etc. But like it's like the difference between of like fighting power and damage a 100-foot army can pump out versus 80 is quite significant. But people don't realize that it's a massive difference for some races.
Yeah. And going back to your question earlier, Mage, I think in this situation it's a nice example because Eshan bought the spell shield on his paladin, but it was only a level 2, or it's only a level 2 paladin. So what is it really worth? Like, he invested so much gold into items on this paladin, and I think it's worth to invest them into a spell shield. But this paladin has a big value item-wise, but I don't really think it translates yet into the strength. At this point, I think 3 Griffins would be more valuable than a Paladin with a Spell Shield and a Pendant of Energy at this point. So that's how I would calculate it. So you may want to buy the Spell Shield earlier because it might not be available later on. But I think it might have been an overinvestment, potentially, if he loses.
And so let's take a quick look at everybody's heroes here. I mean, we've got Hawk with Archmage, MK, Paladin. That's pretty much as standard human as you get. Believe Nightwing has the same, although I'm not sure where his heroes are at the moment. They are hanging out. Oh, he did save that Mountain King. That's good. But I'm pretty sure he has the same heroes. We see an Alchemist over here for Hein instead of the Archmage. And then we see the kind of reverse of the normal way to get him, a Dreadlord DK Lich. Usually you see DK Lich Dreadlord for Undead, but a good move early on to defend himself against Misterwinner. Vivian, what is your kind of take on these hero combinations that we've seen so far, and do you think anybody's particularly better positioned for late game, or perhaps worse positioned as they may be due to their heroes?
Yeah, the one that's like kind of stands out, as at least for players currently still in the game, is Hein with the Panda and Paladin Mountain King. This is a really strong combo. It's particularly very strong against Undead. I'm less familiar how this works out in human mirror match. Does Healing Spray heal tanks? No, right? Or does
Not
it?
as far as I'm aware.
Okay. So you can't do kind of that kind of thing. Acid Bomb is really good, but I feel without Brilliant Sorrow, without Mass TP in the late game, Human Mirror will still probably suffer. Like he can beat, if he gets hero levels up, he can beat Great Wall pretty easily, but then again, you can also do that with standard human heroes. Like ultimate late game, human heroes will beat undead heroes. So
I think it depends really. Like in the matches that we saw, especially on Silver Pine, I remember a match where Yanker played, I think against Noex, it was in QQs. It was Alchemists that he played, and it seemed pretty strong. And I think it's generally not the best map for Archmage after creeping, because Mass TP is not. This is not the best map to utilize Mass TP.
So it's not like a really big map. Like you can move across pretty quickly. There isn't a ton of hiding spaces. So I guess that's a fair.
We do see Hawk going for Great Wall now. Any thoughts on? Yeah, this is an interesting army from Great Wall.
Yeah.
And I think going to be a very successful one against Hawk. But now we've seen Hawk has engaged with every player that's currently in the game. this is kind of what a lot of solo players get dinged for, is less so their aggressiveness and more the lack of focus on aggressiveness. He seems to be content kind of going as, it's commonly referred, Rambo, and just hitting whoever they feel like. Any thoughts on, what Hawk's insight might be right now? Vivan, you're a former solo player, so perhaps you can speak to some of the transition that had to be made when going into free-for-all.
Yeah, so the biggest problem, I would say I was actually thinking, I literally just thinking about this the other day. It's like kind of like to talk about, if we get into a lull, about what are some of the biggest challenges for a player that plays only or only one-on-one or team games. What's the biggest challenge for free-for-all? I would say top 3 would be the scouting, and not just scouting your one opponent, but keeping tabs on the other 3, who has gold, what their hero levels are, etc. The other thing is economy management, and this is probably one of the really big ones. Is it takes a lot of experience and time to know when to be 50 food, when to be 80, and when to be 100. And that kind of balancing really just kind of comes with experience. For instance, you started a little bit, Eshan, he lost to Hawk pretty handily. And if you were looking at his base, he was killing his own units. And that's like a thing that you is definitely, even if you're like, you kill someone, even if you're at a 84 or even 100 food, there are times when it's better to kill your army. Yes, you lost a couple thousand gold, but if you're able to mine, on 3 or 4 mines, you can make that gold back way more. And Hawk is rambling. Yeah, he's definitely rambling a little bit. He hasn't hoarded any gold at all. He's always been 80 food or basically about 50 food, and he's attacked a number of players now. Yeah, exactly as he says, don't beat the red. Like, he's attacked red. He rushed out orange. Awesome. He got another mine here, but he's now attacked every single player, and that is not something you want to be doing. It's just like earning the anger of other players, because that's the other big part. Is the social element is what sets free-for-all apart from the other game.
And so I think we can all agree that, Great Wall and Nightwing have a lot of experience in the free-for-all department. They kind of know how to do this properly. Let's get back to this after we see Hawk push, Eshan, it looks like. But I'd love to get your thoughts on, after this fight is done, Hein, Hightac, since I think neither one of us really knows him. But we do see Hawk pushing in here. He's got the solid 80 food army that he is going to fight another 80 food army for Eshan. Army composition wise, it seems like Hawk has a pretty good counter to Eshan right now, but this is probably not his expertise, as those high food army battles, and Eshan may be a little bit more used to it. Early thoughts on how this battle is going to turn out?
I think Eshan is a bit... Eshan has more towers, but I think he will be relying... Like, he seems to be doing pretty well here, because I think Hawk is still... has obviously the way better micro and should be able to deal with these situations, but with these gyros, and since Hawk has no panda, I think Eshan is dealing with this very well and even killing Hawk's paladin here. So I'm really surprised to see Hawk falling apart that much here.
Yeah, I think this is... Oh, hey, level 6 Archmage. Nice. Yep. Well, not Archmage, just cancel it from STP. I would say in this specific situation, Eshan has a lot of experience. Like, he's very much one to... He's well known in our community as not someone with particularly amazing micro, but his forte is that social element. He knows when to attack, how to attack, who to attack typically, and he's got a ton of experience fighting back a player who is attacking his base with towers, and him not being like at 50 food. He started that fight at 50, he was pumping out. So he's really experienced in these kind of specific situations, whereas it's tough to control an army where you're trying to like focus down towers, you got Blizzard and tanks going off all over the place. So in that one very specific instance, I would say, even though on paper, like, Hawk is like infinitely better than Eshan in a one-on-one, I would give Eshan actually a slight edge, and you kind of showcase that there. He knows like what to which units to focus, like the tanks onto Griffin, machines onto Griffins as well, pull them back, like focus the Blizzard.
Yep, and we do see Great Wall very opportunistically taking out his Expo there. It looks like he is going to go ahead and push and try to take Eshan out right now. Seems like a pretty smart move from my end. I mean, I've got to believe that he thinks that he is the biggest threat in this game to him. What are your guys' thoughts? You know, is this a smart move on his point? Is he going to regret this? Do you think Hawk's going to try and hit Great Wall?
I dislike that the Great Wall is just ignoring Hein. I think that would have been a natural target here, or should have been, but maybe Eshan, just because of the towers that he built around that expo, became a threat here for the Great Wall. And this was the biggest risk here for Eshan now, to get teamed here. And I think Eshan needs to hope for Hawk to go on maybe another player now. Hawk just said red the Great Wall, I think. And Hein also maniping against green, so I think Hein is like left surprisingly alone. He's on 13k, but still less gold than the Great Wall. So everyone has at the bank, but and we shouldn't forget the fact that Eshan gets attacked by multiple players. If he gets to survive, it will also feed him a lot of points, like a lot of experience potentially, especially if you attack him with Necro Wagon.
We
But
do
he needs
see
some-
Hawk coming down here. Looks like he could go for either Eshan or attacking Great Wall, and it looks like he is going to try and backstab Great Wall here, so this could be big. And Great Wall does TP out, but the Lich looks like it may go down. No, double TP.
Nice, good call, I think. Interesting by...
Well, now is Hawk going to try and finish off Eshan? Looks like he may, yes. So, not a long parole here.
Oh, and may need to staff the MK. Bad timing here for Eshan, but I think he will not die here. He has 7k gold still, he has a protection in the back and an army still and all heroes alive, so I think he's in a decent spot. But I still don't get why no one is ever fighting Hein here. What's he like?
Yeah. You guys agree with Hawk? So saving Eshan, I don't know about that, because generally speaking, and the other thing to keep in mind, this isn't like, a normal four-way free-for-all. In a normal four-way, if, let's say, like, these players just start at this position, saving a fourth player so saving Eshan when Great Wall is beating on Eshan, normally I would say that's not the right call. In this situation, do you guys agree with Hawk continue on Eshan, or would you prefer to save and then back off?
You know, I'm a big fan of, if you see an opportunity to take a good player out of the game, go ahead and do so. That may not be the right call or the smart call. I've never claimed to be a particularly good free-for-all player, but in Hawk's shoes, I would probably try and take Eshan completely out of the game. While I think Eshan is always going to play for the win, he's not somebody I think you need to worry about suiciding you for attacking him continuously like that. In general, I think that should and could be a worry for most players. Hawk doesn't know Eshan well enough, I don't think, to know he wouldn't do that. So if I was in his shoes, I would try and completely take him out, I think. But what are your thoughts, Hightac?
A town is under siege.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Hawk may know Eshan. Like, Eshan has, and that's a bit of a disadvantage for him nowadays. He made a name for himself, so people know him.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a similar style for over 10 years right now, and it's I think it's slightly backfiring in an era with all these Twitch streams and ladder, like famous or popular ladder streams. So I think it may have been easier for him during play FFA days.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I have come to really love and appreciate about free for. If any of you guys are out there that watch StarCraft, like Tasteless and Artosis have mentioned multiple times, things like every player has a unique fingerprint in StarCraft 1 and 2. Like, even if you cover up the names, if you watch a high-level pro, you can typically figure out who it is by the way they play and whatnot. You don't quite have that in one-on-one Warcraft 3, not as much. Like, if we cover up the top, if you show me the top 10 undeads in the world, oh, should we have a three-way fight going? Hold on, I'm gonna come back to this point.
Yeah, it does look like Great Wall. I'm not even sure. There we go. Does TP out there, and a little bit of experience from the skeletons for Hawk. It looks like Hawk is kind of in defender mode, and certainly thinks that Great Wall is the biggest threat, letting Eshan live. Let's go back to what you were saying, Vivian. I think that's an interesting point, and then let's talk about Hein after that.
And so everyone has a unique fingerprint, and it's not quite the same in one-on-one Warcraft 3. If I take the top 10 undeads in one-on-one, cover up their names, it's a bit harder to say, oh, this is 120 or this is happy. Okay, maybe if they have like insane micro, those two maybe will stand up, but like number 3 through 10, that's gonna be pretty tough. Whereas I can look at a player and cover up all their names, and I can get a pretty good, accurate like guess on who they are based on the way they type, the way they build their base, the way they fight. There's a lot of little markers, and so that's what makes FFA so unique and interesting. That was like a skill in and of itself. In when you play ladder, you don't see their names, but you see player 1, 2, 3, 4. But based on how they talk and act and play, you can be like, oh, hey, you know what? I'm pretty sure this is so and so because of their hero choice and how they're talking and whatnot.
Yeah,
and so that's like a thing with Eshan, is that he's very well known now for how he plays, his manipulation, his like skill in that, and so it can backfire a lot of the times against a player.
So Hightac, tell us a little bit about Hein. I mean, we do see he's finally going up to 80, but he was essentially completely ignored for about 20 minutes of this game, was able to bank, he still got 15,000 gold. We can see he's got a pretty heavy investment in towers around his main base. He's got a couple of island buildings over there. All things that kind of indicate he at least has a pretty good grasp on the basics of free-for-all. Is he somebody who, is an up-and-coming person we should keep an eye on? Is he mostly a ladder player? Give us a little more information about him.
Yeah, I think he's mostly a ladder player. I've met him on ladder a couple of times back in the old Frozen Throne days, and I just played him on ladder yesterday, and he's really solid, and seems to be a nice guy, so I don't think he's really playing massive amount of ladder games, but I think he's experienced at least, and we see this, like he plays it very safely. I mean, at some point we are below the 50-minute mark. He has decent levels and gold, but at some point staying alive will not win you the game. Like at some point you will need to act, and I'm not sure if he's just waiting for the game to become a 3-way or if he tries to just get a bit more gold, but at some point you need to act.
We do see here, yep, TP in by Hawk and Great Wall coming in as well. We've got another one of these 3-way fights. It does look like Great Wall happy to take any experience that he can get, trying to just snipe one of these heroes. Looks like really no solid teaming here for either player, although it does look like Eshan and Great Wall both are more interested in fighting Hawk at the moment. Just looking around, we are almost completely out of gold. We can see that there's a 2,000 gold expo that Hawk has. He's now gotten a 1,500 gold expo. I think that, Vivan left the game. Are you there, Vivan?
Even if he is, he wouldn't know. It's just the two of us. Maybe he wants to prepare for his own match in 1 hour.
Maybe that's so, or maybe his internet cut out.
See.
We can hear you. Well, here comes the fight. Let's talk about this about a moment. We got Hawk and Hein having a quick battle here. Hein with a good positioning on the tanks on the outside. Hawk's Griffin Rider is taking a significant amount of damage. That Alchemist in the middle mixing it up does look like it has gone for Acid Bomb and Healing Spray, as a little surprised not to see Chemical Rage on it with the Claws stack. And we can see Heinz at 88, Hawk at 66, and Hawk forced to TP out, but he is TPing back to the Town Hall. It looks like this could be a good opportunity for Hein to try and take out the heroes. Paladin does go down for Hawk. The Archmage is over there in the back, looking a little low. Going to go ahead and try and mass TP out. MK Low does get away, though. And Hein now taking down the remainder of this expo. He is committed to 85. He's not mining. Probably a smart move on his part to spend some of that gold, boost his army, and try and get some hero levels. Alright, so Vivan, I think we heard you a moment ago, but can you confirm if you're here and if you unfortunately left the game?
I left the game, it looks like. God damn it. I don't know what the hell just happened. My internet must have just hiccuped.
I mean, it's still better you than a player, I guess, but...
Damn it. There's no reconnect, is there?
Happens.
Okay.
Should we ask for regame?
Probably so, I think the casters are the most important part of this match.
Yeah, that's always said. Like, I'm so angry, but I mean, I'm even more angry if I'm the streamer and I'm the one disconnecting. Like, I think it's still, it sucks, but at least you will have the joy of seeing the other streams. Match 2 is already over, by the way. Since 5 minutes, so
Oh wow, who won it?
2 matches running still. I think it was won by Still, the last short note replacement and the best Orc player on ladder currently.
And we do see Hein continuing to push Hawk here. Van, I hope you'll continue to join us on the stream as we talk, and maybe my casting will be good enough that it can just create an image in your head as to what's going on, and you can play along here. But we see that TGW coming in. Looks like he's trying to hit Hawk as well. He's up to a 66 food army. We see Hein continuing to move down, trying to go into Hawk's base. Hawk just kind of backing off, kiting him away. TGW taking down that gold mine. Only 750 left in it. Probably not even really worth rebuilding after you take into account losing upkeep gold there. And we see that now Eshan is just kind of being ignored. His favorite game, he's at 80 food with about 7,500 gold, but pretty low hero levels, and we are officially halfway through the match right now. Hein continuing to push on to Hawk here. Hawk looking like he's going to try and take a stand. He's got some towers in the background helping him take down Hein's tanks. Hein's tanks are actually very low, forcing him to TP out here. Hawk currently at a 69 food army. Looks like Hein went down to about 75 food there, so he did lose a decent amount in that fight. Hightac, what are your kind of initial impressions coming out of that fight?
To be honest, I just had to chat, so I didn't look. I'm the worst podcaster ever today, but it's. But I can just quickly, without being biased, because I haven't seen the fight. I check Hawk, and he's on 654 against 533, and we're getting closer. I mean, as mentioned, Hawk is far ahead, so at some point he becomes a threat point-wise. So if he continues to be the most active player, he seems to be the winning one if this goes full distance. So I think there might be an interest of the others to attack Hawk, maybe in a team, to avoid feeding him even more experience here.
And so, a lot of viewers probably haven't paid a ton of attention to how the point system works. It's just really not relevant at all, aside from right now or in FML League games where you get an extra 3 points for being the top scorer. What are the most important factors to consider in the score? Let's talk about that after we see if TGW and Hawk are actually going to fight here. It looks like they are. The interesting army choice continuing from TGW, he does back off here. A couple of Fiends seem like they are probably not helping all that much, and TGW does TP out. Hawk is able to defend himself, but Van and Hightac, if you guys want to talk a little bit about, what goes into that score, what are some of the things that we should keep an eye on in the stream for people trying to boost their score?
Oh, we shouldn't tell people. I think it's... unfortunately, I have dealt with some parts of it, and I know there are some ways I know some of the factors, but it's still not entirely clear to me. I think when it comes to hero score, it's really mostly about just the total experience points. That's what matters. When it comes to units, it's all about unit kills, from what I know. And resources is a combination of lumber and gold. Mined and harvested. So that's my knowledge. So it's really like you have some other fact, like you have tech percentage and that kind of stuff in the score metric. But as far as I know, that does not count towards the total score. Maybe tech percentage does. I don't know actually, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I've got no real idea. You know that Renault used to have a really good grasp on it since he spent one of the seasons constantly.
Since he unmounted and mounted hippogriff riders for like 1 hour straight and had like 50 wisps in lumber. But he got penalized for that. I mean, obviously we will not allow abuse of rules. And I mean, it was a bit trolling by him, but
I
was
believe
fun.
it was actually in protest of using the score at all because he was never a believer in that.
Maybe. I mean, at least you need like some sort of and that's the difficulty, especially with these events, right? If you have a timer, you need to decide somehow who won, and it's often like it's not the solution to decide based upon who's still in game, because then it will strongly favor the race that can hide trees more easily. So that's why it seems much fairer to go by endgame score, but there are always flaws, and we had some plans to calculate it differently to exclude resource scores, for example, but it all becomes really difficult to admin because you need to calculate it all manually. Like you need to calculate it for every replay that you get, and it's not that big of a factor to really go for that.
And so we do see that the awareness of Hein's island towers is being made known.
And Eshan's too, our guy, right? Kill his island towers. Okay, no, it seems they have not scouted the bottom left here.
I don't think they have. I think it was TGW scouted with the Zeppelin up at these arcane towers. Probably because he was going to try and do the same thing, to be honest. He does have an Alkalite in that Zeppelin.
Yeah, and Eshan calls out Hein for the island here at the top right, while he is having his own island at the bottom left and is preparing the second one at the top left. So, yeah.
It's good to be able to say these things with a straight face.
Yeah. And calling out other people for being island builders while being one himself. And Hawk not going for the island, I guess, but attacking the main base of Eshan again. Looks like it.
He's certainly scouting out that way, it looks like. I'm a little surprised that we're not seeing a little more mass TP abuse out of Hawk. I mean, he is the only one with a level 6 Archmage right now. I know it's hard to get an invisible unit in when they can see it, but I'm a little... Ooh, actually, we are going to see Hein pushing Hawk before he engages with Eshan. So Hawk probably going to TP back and not hit Eshan. He may not realize it, but he was just given a quick pardon there. And there we go, Hawk does TP back. He gets in good position with taking out some of these early tanks early on. Those mortars in the back certainly going to do a bit of damage, but 72 versus 92. This is a big food advantage. We see Hawk's Paladin getting low, but he does pop some vulnerability on it. And there we go, Chemical Rage does go off for that Alchemist. Does a lot of damage now when he's attacking. So far, neither player has lost a unit, just kind of going back and forth, but Hawk is food capped at 66 food. This is something that a lot of solo players don't really keep an eye on. See the MK getting low for Hein, Alchemist diving into the casters back there, and so far it looks like Hein in pretty good position for pushing right now. Paladin does pop a potion, goes ahead and heals himself up. Paladin on Hein's side is getting low, it's stunned, going to pop in vulnerability. I'm guessing may not have enough mana at the moment, actually backs off there. Saved by the spell shield earlier on, and there we go. Hein is going to use that Alchemist TP to get out of there. Lost 8 food during the fight. Hawk actually only lost 2 food there. Ooh, and Sorceress and some of the remainder of the army did not get away with Hein. He's having to pull it north, try to distract Hawk from chasing down the rest of it. But overall, certainly a fight I think that kind of hurt Hawk's base right now. Yeah. I mean, it looks like Hawk's base could be taken out in a pretty concerted teaming effort without too much difficulty.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention, erased buildings are also part of the resource scores. So I think it's actually not the worst idea by Hein to attack with tanks here. Killing some buildings, and even if you lose some tanks, they don't really feed that much XP. That's the advantage of tanks. So I'm not sure if he needed to wait that long, but I think it was not a really bad call. In the meantime, though, the Great Wall getting up in gold here, and I guess he will, at some point, it will like start to speed up and he will start to use the gold he's pumping here, so he will need to attack with 100 now to get some levels and some to increase or improve in scores. And something we see, like there are some players who say, timer FFAs with timers are much better, and we do see as a result of these timers, we do see here in Hawk's main base, there is no way a player like Hawk would ever get that many towers in his main base if it was without a timer here. While you could argue, okay, it lowers the risk to have a long game, or it diminishes that risk if you have a timer, it also increases the risk of having like a game where players play more towards scores and staying alive than really winning the game.
Yeah, absolutely. We do see Hawk going ahead and focusing on Hein right now, and we see that Eshan has pumped up to 100 as well. Unclear if he's going for Hawk or perhaps going for Great Wall. In terms of, just having kind of a easy 1v1 for each of them, it would seem like hitting Great Wall might be a good way for everybody to gain some experience, but it does look like he's going for Hawk instead. Probably because he's a little less confident in terms of Hawk's free-for-all abilities and, a little more confident in the 1v1 aspect of getting beaten. But we see this fight here for Hein is going okay, but not great right now. He's forced to back up a little. A lot of the casters go down to that stomp from the Mountain King. Clap. And now Hein is down to 75. He's capped at 90 as well and has some armies that look like farms that look like they could go down as well. Great Wall looks like he is moving on to Eshan. Nightwing just scouting things out right now. It looks like, I'm surprised he didn't know that mine was empty already. Maybe he's just checking on the gold amount in it. But all in all, it certainly looks like this is going to get very chaotic momentarily. We see Hein being forced to completely pump. If we look down at Eshan's base, he is being forced to TP in here. Great Wall is at a full 100 food army right now, and oof, Nightwing I know has more, but they are in reserve, and he is not bringing them out at all. Down goes a bunch of the army, in come the flying machines, and we see that the towers are doing a little bit of damage here. Archmage goes down, the Paladin is low, and looks like this could be the end of Eshan if he is not careful right now. He's got a decent amount of food, but this is a strong push right now from Great Wall, and he looks like he is willing to go all in on it. Hawk moving away, maybe hitting Great Wall at the moment, actually, completely changing the dynamic, and there we go. We see the rest of Nightwing's army come in here. It is made up of Dragonhawk Riders and Griffins, and we see that a lot of the Frostworms are getting low. The Gargoyles are already about a quarter health, and we see Hawk is hitting the original Natural Expo for Great Wall, so Great Wall has to be careful here because of the tanks in Hawk's army as well as his Archmage, that he does not lose all these Gargoyles before he's able to take out some of Hawk's army. And down goes the Mountain King as well. Looks like maybe Great Wall is content to keep pushing. He's at 74 and not rebuilding, or slowly rebuilding, I should say, actually. Certainly a chaotic early battle here between the three of them, and Hein looks like he may be the ultimate winner out of this, as he's allowed to live. Hawk does TP away there. What I missed there, Hightac, and who did that help most?
Yeah, I think it's great now to see the Great Wall using his gold. I mean, he's a very, very smart player, if not one of the smartest there is. Like, he's a player I really like to watch, although more with Elf than with Human and Undead, but he is really smart, and he knows he can't win the game if he just goes to grave with 15k gold. So he's attacking Eshan and now getting attacked by Hein. Is he? No, maybe not.
Looked like Hein was just kind of scouting things out there, but maybe
when everyone.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I'm watching the stream now because since I got disconnected, so I'm 15 minutes behind. But I just left. One thing that when Hawk expanded to Ishan's natural, the gold mine only had 1,000 gold in there. He was in upkeep, and he power built the town hall and built 5 towers. So that's like one thing to also keep in mind, is that you need to kind of take into account it's not just 1,000 gold to get. You lose gold to upkeep, you lose gold to power building and towers. So what's like the net gain? Probably it was basically even, or even if lost.
Yeah, he might have lost a little bit of gold in that one. We do see that Great Wall again getting into another fight, this time with Hein right here. That Death Knight is getting very low in the middle. Does have a potion of vulnerability, but it goes down. Not able to get it off in time. Not sure if he had a little bit of lag there or what, but that gives level 6 on the Alchemist. Goes ahead and transmutes one of those Frostworms, and we see that Great Wall down to 77. Hein is only at 62, and he does lose that Mountain King as well, but the fight is going his way in terms of getting that Alchemist to level 6. Such an important level for it, and Great Wall not able to do a whole lot here due to all of the Gargoyles in his army. Does take out some of the mortar teams that were just left up open in the exposed, and looks like probably have to see Hein TP out of here momentarily, but at the moment Great Wall not able to do that much damage. Breakers are just kind of slowly chipping away at things, and losing that Death Knight means that the Lich could certainly be in trouble, although the lack of the Mountain King probably means that it'll be alright. And there we do. We do see Hein starting to retreat right now on the other side of the base. So we have Hawk in the middle of Eshan's base, and down goes that Mountain King, I think. Yep, not able to bring in the Zeppelin to save it, and Eshan is in very, very dire straits right now. Has lost all of these towers, up to level 7 on the Archmage, 5 on the Paladin, 5 on the Mountain King. Mountain King so close to hitting level 6, will do momentarily, and I think that both Great Wall and Hein are going to be unlikely to want to come save him after that early skirmish.
Yeah, and on the other side, Hein tried to, or sold one statue, but got forced into TP after, so I would say a better deal for the Great Wall. Maybe not, maybe because he got some experience, Hein got some experience of it. But yeah, let's see. I mean, Eshan, and he will not give up easily, and he has these islands here, so I think at some point Hawk or the Great Wall need to start killing these islands, and usually it's something you want to do rather sooner than later, simply because at some point you can quickly run into issues to kill them. Like at some point it becomes really tricky to do so.
Yep, I do appreciate the irony here of Hawk saying that he's dead as he is in the middle of finishing off Eshan right now. So Hightac, you've got a lot of experience, especially in recent times, of fighting against Eshan, seeing his FML matches, playing him on ladder. He's got about 1,000 wood, 3,500 gold. How much do you think he's going to be able to actually rebuild here? What would that look like, and what's his strategy as somebody that's almost completely out of the game? He knows that in 30 minutes this game is going to be over one way or the other. He doesn't have time to fully stick around to try and get a last-minute win by building race or something, you know. What does he do here?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, he was too much. It seemed to me he started with these islands, got a lot of towers early, which might save you in the early game. But we see right here why it's not the best solution to just play passively, because now, like, he might be able to survive until the end, but I think it's very unlikely that he will be the one with the highest score of the remaining players, simply because he hasn't fought enough. So I think being a player that is that knows very well how to get up islands, I think he should have played a bit more aggressively before he got attacked by Hawk. I think he should have maybe gone for 1 or 2 fights, because now it's too late. I don't think in 30 minutes you can really come back and finish all other players here. I think he's he's not out. Maybe he can tickle someone, but I think he's in a really bad spot here.
So now we see some concerted teaming with Hein and Great Wall attacking Hawk. Looks like they are backing off for now, but do you think that was... They recognize Hawk is probably in first place score-wise, they want to try and take him out of the game, and they both feel they've got a good shot of winning this 1v1? Do you think they're just weakening him a little bit? You know, get us into their insight. Ooh, and a backstab on Great Wall attacking Hein. Not sure if that was intentional.
No, it doesn't seem so. Yeah, I think if they fight each other, there's a risk of Hawk just getting more experience, or a bit more experience and points of Eshan, and just taking the free win. So I think it's a fair point. You don't want to attack Hawk alone because he has too many towers, and there's a big risk if you just let Hawk be, that at this point he will just take the win, deservedly, but still. So I think it's the best shot to spend their gold on trying to weaken Hawk now. I think especially for the Great Wall, it's really necessary to do so, because he has the gold, the gold still, and being undead here, he needs higher hero levels to just get more. Like he's more reliant to act quickly, I think, and use his gold. I think here human with the transmute, he might be better off just waiting a bit longer, and I like that he got Spellbreakers here. I think he can wait pumping units, but undeads usually don't have the best late game units, but rather heroes, so...
Here we go, we see the battle is starting. Hawk losing at least two of his tanks there, one to Transmute, one to Great Wall's army. We can see that Hein is kind of diving in and out, trying to focus on some of those heroes. We do see the Stoneform come off on the Gargoyles, and down goes the Archmage for Hawk. Hawk getting perilously low here. It has weakened some of Hein's heroes, but not enough to force him to TP out yet. Great Wall doing lots of damage, taking out another one of these tanks in the meantime. And Paladin is forced to go ahead and invulnerable. Hawk does have his level 6 avatar going on the Mountain King, but still, this seems like a somewhat futile effort on his part to try and push. He's got to try and force somebody to TP out here so he can take the other fight 1v1, focusing on Hein, thinking that he's probably the most likely one that he's going to be able to get out. But in the meantime, continuing to have some of these tanks go down to the remainder of Great Wall's army. And unclear here if Hein is saying that Great Wall should stop hitting him by accident, or... Okay, he's pushing back here. So we do see, you know, far from the end for Hawk, but he lost about 20 food of his army. He doesn't have that much gold to rebuild with. You know, a very frustrating position to be in that we've all been in before. In a normal free-for-all, you know, I think this is probably where they would back off and start teaming either Hein or Great Wall. In this game, unclear to me. I mean, I think it's certainly possible that they try and fully take Hawk out of the game, or at least try to get him as low as possible. Do you think this will be treated kind of like a normal free-for-all and they'll back off him now, or do you think they're going to try and completely get him out of the game? And also, what can Hawk do right now?
Yeah, I mean, although it sounds a bit like a bit bad-mannered, I think at this point, it's at some point it might be, maybe at this point already, it might be the best bet to just eliminate Hawk entirely. I think for both, it's their best chance to win this. If they expect to, I mean, at least until now, they haven't done anything against these islands here, so that's something they will need to do at some point. And if they don't, I think it would be at least for Hein and for the Great Wall, it would be their best call here to team Hawk a bit further, or as we see here, just take fights against each other and try to feed each other experience by that. Yeah, and we do see a lot of tanks here behind. It's interesting, and I think a good call. But of course, he's not overly flexible without mass TP and with tanks, so easy to lose them all without dealing any damage against Dreadlord level 7. So need to use them wisely.
And so Kaleidoscope bringing up an interesting point. He thinks that the tanks are going to be used to steamroll Great Wall once Hawk is out, or once, you know, he's ready to backstab Great Wall. I think both Great Wall and Hein are pretty confident in their position. You know, they probably think they can take each other 1v1. Which position would you rather be in right now?
Good call. Good question. I think it's... I would always, in this mode, with just roughly 20 minutes left, I would always like to be in the spot of the one with most points, which should be Hawk still. Unless the resources are that far apart, I don't know. So we'll see here. But I think it's... I don't know, it's really difficult. So...
Well,
I guess
we see Hawk does not have any peasants around the map that I can see for hiding a building. I mean, it's a very free-for-all player mentality to have, you know, a hidden wisp, a hidden peasant. Does he have a couple moving around? Oh, he's long-distance mining, so yep.
Yeah, 2 there, but I don't believe he's... I think he's... Oh, and these 2 peasants just died.
We can see that there are some zeppelins around the map that Great Wall has Alkalites hidden in. You know, he's certainly prepared if his base does get steamrolled to be able to hide some buildings just to wait it out. Both Hein and Eshan have obviously some buildings on the cliffs and stuff like that, but Hawk, I think, is in very real trouble of completely losing his base and just losing that way. Or just rage quitting.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's I think it's... He doesn't mind too much. Wow, all the items on the ground. Getting killed here.
And it will be interesting to see if anybody actually does pick up any of the items. The only thing that has room is the Paladin for Shed currently. He's ignoring them as well. I mean, it's typically well known to...
Don't do it! Don't do it! Okay.
He's just going for experience, yeah.
Yeah. Which I think the others should have done. It's even like it's experience for him, but even if you are level 555, you still get points for unit kills if you and hero kills even if you kill.
And so we see Eshan bringing up an interesting idea that, you know, he very clearly knows that this game is likely going to come down to top score. So I think we certainly may see some accelerated gameplay right now as all the players who are probably not Great Wall at this point decide they need to try and go ahead and take out Great Wall in order to stand a chance of actually winning this game. And we do see Hein pushing in here. Eshan mentioned it a moment ago. Great Wall is recalibrating his army so he can TP back at the moment. Hein coming in strong with these tanks in the middle of his base, and here comes the TP. Let's see where Great Wall positions himself. Disease Cloud really doing some good damage to these Spellbreakers, and a nice TP in here from Great Wall. We do see that the Gargoyle is taking a lot of damage from the tanks, obviously, but they'll go ahead and Stone Form. There we go. And now that Infernal right in the middle of the Spellbreakers, dealing lots of damage to them. We see that 97 food, but he is now capped for Great Wall, and Hein is forced to TP out down to 74 food. I didn't quite catch what he came into the fight with, but I'd say from a base perspective, he did a lot of damage to Great Wall's base. Great Wall may need to go ahead and rebuild a little bit. Looks like he is going to now, building some necropolises. But from a unit perspective, Great Wall certainly took the best of that fight.
Yeah, I think he killed some buildings, but he also fed some of the units, which I think is more relevant for the score. I was just thinking whether these two players could weaken each other enough in 20 minutes to give top score, or to give Eshan an opportunity to finish the remaining one, but I just don't think that's possible. I don't think any of these players will leave. Like, there is still this island here, and I don't think it's going to happen.
Yep, so I mean, let's see, we are 765 versus 754. So I mean, it seems, I agree, completely unlikely Eshan's going to be able to pull this off, but he certainly could be a deciding factor in the game. But Hein needs to have a good fight, and there we go, does take out, wow, he has gotten great positioning on these Necro Wagons, and is taking out a lot of them, gets level 6 on the MK. The tanks, though, for Hein are very low and trapped in poor position right now. We do see the Gargoyles coming in. Oof. In some ways, getting the web off on those Griffin Riders is actually hurting Great Wall, as he's unable to take them down as quickly, and in comes Eshan, hitting him in the back. Gargoyles go into Stone Form. We do see MK is not yet used Avatar. TP out here by Great Wall, but the Lich goes down in the meantime. Bad mistake there by Great Wall. That's unfortunate, especially with all those tanks so low. He almost had the ability to come back in and take a bunch of them out. Seems like that's going to really hurt. Eshan has a strong opinion on all of this, apparently. But a good fight there for Hein. He's slowly leveling those heroes up enough that I think he's going to be in top score contention as well. Just under 20 minutes. We are 18.5 until the end of the game, one way or the other. For those that might have missed our earlier discussion, this game will only go an hour and a half, and if there's no true winner in that time, then the player that is still remaining in the game with the top score will advance to the next round. And so, Hightac, you know, why don't you give us a quick overview of what should be going through each of these players' thoughts right now? I know it's a little bit tougher situation because of the fact that, oof, we do see the invisibility coming in here, and Eshan could get really screwed here by the Dreadlord and DK,
Yeah,
but it looks like...
I guess he can TP out, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, Eshan can only hope right now and try to deal some damage, get some pickoffs. The Great Wall wants to spend his last 5k gold here, and Hein, I guess, a bit more careful. It's his last 100 supply, but he will use it, and I mean, he has to use it against the Great Wall.
Yep, and Great Wall going to be forced to spend a little bit of that gold on the base, as we saw. You know, the Necropolis is coming up. He seems to be going for an Abomination, Necromancer, Wagon army. Makes sense against two human players, especially with the prevalence of tanks and Spellbreakers, so it seems like he should be in pretty good shape right now. One of the Zeppelins, he does go down with the Alkalite. He knows that Shen is hiding a little bit of an army at least. But given that, you know, this is not a game that's going to come down to everybody having one building left, it's probably a little less important at the moment. We can see that there's a Gargoyle, a couple Frost Worms hidden back there for Great Wall as well. What do you think about these army compositions? I mean, is this the right counter for Great Wall against the tanks?
I just need to, sorry, Mage, I
Nope,
just
you're
need to clarify some stuff.
We got a fight going on here anyway, and we do see that the tanks are coming in. The Dreadlord is taking a TP back to reposition himself and try and get him out. The meat wagons are out front here, and now the Lich going to back away as well, but he does lose a couple of these valuable meat wagons. The positioning has been unable to be just right yet for Great Wall, and as such, he is losing a lot of buildings right now. We do see the tanks steamrolling it. Great Wall is now capped at 80 food, has 69 food of army. Hein is at 90 of 100, but a lot of low tanks right now, and his Griffin Riders are pretty low as well. There we go, we do see some of the invulnerable units from the level 6 ultimate coming out of the DK. One of the few times you're going to see that ultimate actually be useful. We have not seen Avatar pop yet. We do see a TP from the DK as it gets very low there, and Griffin Riders are looking very low, but he does save a bunch of them right now. Alchemist at about half health, Chemical Rage, and it does look like Hein is probably going for the smarter move here of just take out as many buildings as he can. MK backing up there. Death Knight does go down. Nice dive by Hein, and he is going to TP away and rebuild. He's at 60 of 100, 52 of 80 for Great Wall at the moment. You know, looks like Hein, I think, has the right idea right now of just press as much as he is able to, and we do see a stab coming in from Eshan. He's going for some of those towers up on the back, so it looks like Eshan thinks that Hein is the strongest player right now, and he could be a difference maker. I mean, that 1v1 fight did not go that well for Great Wall the way I expected that it would. I thought he had a pretty decent army counter to it, but certainly hasn't worked out the way he imagined, at least, and he may need Eshan's help here in order to level the playing field. Not sure.
I'll be back with you in a second.
Okay, no problem.
I need to moderate disconnect, but
Take your time.
tend to get used to it.
Yep. So we do see here currently Nightwing or Eshan is just wandering around the army doing some scouting. We are at 15 minutes left in the game. I expect we're going to continue to see an action-packed ending to it. And let's see here. Yep, so it does look like we're going to have a coordinated attack. We still have another 30-45 seconds left on that Death Knight coming back out. Eshan obviously is not entirely sure that he should be trusting Great Wall right now, but Hein, I believe, just put off that scout on his base, looking to push before that Death Knight can come back. 81 of 96, only 1,000 gold left for Hein. We do see Great Wall now down to 2,300, only at 69 of 80, not rebuilding anything I can see to get his population over, so he is not going for a 100 food army. An interesting decision on his part. We see that some of the slow base race type stuff is going on already. The Infernal going into Hein's base, taking out the workshop. Won't be able to finish it off before it expires though. And here we go. Chemical Rage comes in. Nicely done. Alchemist goes ahead and uses Transmute on one of the meat wagons. And looks like we do see Death Knight is back out now. Very low mana though, only at 120. Eshan is going to come in and try and gank Hein from behind. And let's see here. This is about to be the fight. Looks like Hein does not have a gyro in there. Oh, he does. Okay, so he sees Eshan's invisible. He's going to try and mitigate that problem while he can. And we see that, there we go, the push from Great Wall coming. Don't know if he's going to try and stab the army in the back, take out a couple of these tanks, perhaps just go for the base and start weakening those towers. Hein now being forced to chase Eshan around, and let's see here. Great Wall making a decision to go for the tanks, it looks like. Nope, he is going for the base, so he's moving on in. And going to try and take out some of these production buildings at the outer outskirts, and that Mountain King there for Eshan getting low, but gets healed back up quickly. Not really a great army on behalf of Hein for actually pinning down the heroes of Eshan that are running around, and yep, perfectly timed heal, but MK is still pretty low. We don't see a Potion of Vulnerability on the MK, specifically TP on the Archmage there, so he can get out if he really needs to. And we see here Death and Decay going off right in the middle of those towers. Hein needs to come in here to prevent some of the damage. Tanks really doing nothing in this fight. So 16 food worth of tanks right now, it looks like, and Hein at a true about 65 food army. Level 8 on that Alchemist, though. Dreadlord is level 8 as well. Sleep Sea Paladin going to try and take down one of these heroes if he can. pushing back a little bit, not overly engaging, and Eshan coming in from the side. Nice blizzard into the tanks. Tanks are getting low, and if those get taken out, really going to hurt Hein in terms of the base race game, and a nice Infernal right into the middle of the tanks right there. So far, none of them have gone down, but that does change with that one. And Hein being forced to retreat back into his base, trying to get some cover from these towers, which slowly still getting taken down by this meat wagon as well. Eshan doing just enough damage on the outside to be a nuisance. Mountain King being able to bolt and coordinate a hero attack here would be huge, and we continue to see Hein has very low meat wagons, or sorry, very low tanks, not able to do a whole lot of that from damage behind. Surprised we are not seeing him split them off, try to take out some buildings, and there we go, we do see coordinated hero attack, trying to take out at least one of the Hein's heroes here. So far, none of them in complete danger, but we see a priest go down, slowly losing his army. 69 of 84 right now for Hein. We see Great Wall is at 54 of 80, Eshan 59 of 72. Slowly, bit by bit, we see these towers going down. Biggest defense in Hein's space. If he's able to keep those up, that would be huge in terms of preventing a true base race scenario that he could lose, but looks like at least some of them are going to go down to the Archmage on Blizzard here, and we do see one go down. Eshan doing a nice job of just keeping himself off to the side, not taking too much damage on his heroes, and doing as much to help Great Wall's cause here as he can. We are about to hit the 10-minute mark in this game, though. Things will get even more action-packed, I'd imagine. Eshan is going to have to make his move at some point. Dreadlord diving in there, getting a little bit low. Very low on mana right now, losing mana by the moment. 115 left, trying to dive in and take out some more of this towers with its Carrion Swarm. Income from the outside, some of Nightwing's army, and he is being chased back by the flying machines that Hein has. Hein really having a difficult time with the split of his army, having to deal with Eshan over on the side. Does lose all of his flying machines. Tanks are pretty low, they could go down as well. Towers going down to the Blizzard from Eshan's Archmage, and here we go, we see the Avatar has been popped for the Mountain King. Pushing into the casters, Necros are getting a little bit low, although none of them are being completely focused right now. It seems like still having issues with the army split. Griffins are pretty low as well. Eshan having to back up here in a little bit of a difficult position in terms of getting pinned in the base. Now in the back corner, and we see Hein moving around, loses another one of those Griffins, and those are going down easy to the Dreadlord. But Dreadlord is now out of mana. Lich is out of mana. Death Knight is very low on mana, has enough for 2 Death Coils, trying to take out the remainder of those Arcane Towers, which are just leeching the mana. And in the back, we see Nightwing continuing to use that Archmage effectively. Blizzard able to take out some of these towers. Hein really unable to defend himself at all right now. And this could be interesting for him. I expect at some point Eshan is going to swap sides and start teaming down Great Wall as well, but we'll see. Maybe he's hoping for base race scenario where he's going to be able to take out Great Wall's base. Not entirely sure what he's thinking his plan is at the moment, but his Mountain King getting a little bit low there, down to 300, 400, and down goes that Mountain King. Nice job of silencing the Paladin. It was out of mana anyway, even so with the invulnerability, is unable to get it off. But that is enough for Eshan to try and back off for now, it looks like. Great Wall continue to just take out some of these workshops and do as much damage to the base as he's able to. Eshan pretty convinced that top score is going to go to Hein. He probably has a pretty good grasp of this. I mean, for all of his manipulations and fault, I would guess that Eshan has a good idea.
I'm back, and I think he has one. Yeah, I think he might be right. Looking at Hein's levels, it's in a pretty good spot potentially here. Interestingly, island gone, as you say, in just 8 minutes. So, whew.
Yeah, the clock is certainly starting to focus here, and Eshan is either giving some high-level manipulation or he truly believes that Hein has top score right now. I'm not quite as convinced. I mean, in addition to everything else, the Necromancers, I think, are a pretty smart call because of the fact that they are going to continue to summon and boost the unit score for Great Wall, though they also then count as kills for Hein, so that may be about net even as a whole. And Hein pushing into the base, trying to take out a few more of those, and he's going to get at least one of these Banshees with Transmute, and Eshan hitting Great Wall right now. Unclear to me if, that's a suicide, that's not really in Eshan's nature, or some other strategy, but it's certainly forcing him to split his army. And Great Wall is only at 55 food right now with 1,000 gold.
Yeah. So this is pretty tense, and I mean, at this point, you just don't want to lose any heroes to your enemy to not feed them. Like, you really don't want to feed any experience, but you can't gain a lot of experience either, unless you just don't have the units. But we see right here, surround on the Dreadlord, but then there are these Gargs, and you really don't just want to lose all these Griffins here, because that could be the level 7 for that Lich. And we do see Eshan here in the north sniping some buildings. And it's only 6 minutes and 30 seconds here.
Yep, and Hein is almost completely out of gold. He does not currently have a TP, I don't believe, so he may need to sell off an item or go transmute something in order to buy his last remaining TP that he'll be able to get. We do see Eshan continuing to come in here and blizzard away some of the buildings for Hein, so he's definitely trying to rack up a little bit of building score. I think it probably is not going to be possible that they'll take out all of Hein's buildings in the meantime, but they're not that far away yet. No island towers, and I don't see any peasants running around for Hein either. I'm not sure if you've caught any, but I think truly a possibility in the last few minutes, if Hein's not careful, he could get building killed.
Yeah, it could be. I think it's really important to keep some peasants safe. On the other hand, 5 minutes can go by pretty quickly, so it's still plenty of buildings. If you stop the Inferno potentially, and of course Death and Decay.
Yep, if he stays in his base and actively defends, I think he's got a way to put this off, and I think it's still entirely possible Eshan is going to backstab Great Wall before they entirely kill everything off. We do see some gyrocopters going into Great Wall's base to try and take out some buildings, and we do see that the Lich is possibly surrounded. I think it might actually get out of there, but it's only got 500 now. There we go. Death Coil comes in to save the Lich at the last moment. No heroes in any real danger of dying at the moment, but as you were saying earlier, that is one of the biggest concerns for all the players right now, is not losing any of those. Taking a quick glance back at Great Wall's base, we can see that the gyros are starting to do a little bit of damage, but they back off due to the Black Citadel there. And, Eshan doing a tremendous amount of damage here with that Archmage and Blizzard. Griffin is pretty low here as well, that got staffed back. And Great Wall saying that he's got some copters, which, while certainly true, probably is not news to Eshan. And Eshan,
they need to hurry.
Yeah,
they need to hurry, and it's still sizable. It's 50 supply, but still, I think Hein will be able to hold this for long enough. I don't think they can finish all these buildings in 4 minutes and these units.
Yeah, I think as long as Hein is going to actively defend, he's going to be able to hold it off. I am not at all convinced that he still actually has the high score, though. And ooh, a nice surround on the MK there, and the MK is going to go down, so Hein continuing to buff that up. We do see one of the tanks goes down, one is TP back, and Eshan realizing just how problematic that probably is for losing his hero to him, but he is going to take out one of the tanks there in the meantime, and the Alchemist is getting low here. We do see the Paladin has slept. Paladin goes ahead and gets woken up just in time to heal the Alchemist back up. Hein doing a nice job of preventing any true serious issues of losing his heroes in the meantime. Eshan continuing to just kind of take down what he can, but if I was in Hein's position right now, I'd be a little worried about the MK as it keeps diving in and it has had cripple cast on it, but I'd be feeling much better about my buildings as we are 3.5 minutes left in the game, and he's got a significant amount of high-level units left, or high-level buildings left.
And Eshan is really, that's always a difficult call. In his situation, there's just no way he can get top score, I think so. And no way to finish both players. So I think he as well, and he knows he could just lean back and do nothing. 3 minutes won't be enough to really finish all these human buildings, and it seems it's really between Hein and the Great Wall, and I see Hein with all these transmutes here and level 8 on the Alchemist. I think Hein is at the top here, and in a really good spot.
Yeah, I think he probably is right now, although I'm not entirely convinced, but we'll see how the scoring algorithm actually breaks it
right.
down.
Yeah, you're right. Level 8 Dreadlord here,
Yep.
so I missed that, so you might be right. It's pretty even, like
876,
experience-wise.
875.
Yeah, you're right. And level 5 Paladin, obviously much less experience than level 6 Lich here. So,
And actually, we
and
do
now
see we're going to see a backstab here from Great Walls. He tries to get any experience that he can, and you know, that's a bold
yeah, it's
move.
just about getting something here,
Yep.
some experience.
And then we see a TP out here, so probably not a bad move from Great Wall to get the experience that he can, but that almost certainly will mean that Eshan is going to go ahead and try and hit him. In fact, I guess he already is with some of the breakers in Great Wall's base, and might have been a little bit early of a stab. I didn't see if the breakers were already there when he was hitting the heroes or not, but there is still a minute and a half left in this game. Great Wall slowly just getting a little bit more experience, 877 right now. Still pumping a few units. Spending all the gold that you can is obviously going to be important here just to try and create as many units as possible. And no way that they're going to be able to take out the remainder of these buildings in the meantime, but they're going to do their best to try. We see again the effectiveness of Archmage coming in, and that Paladin, or not the Paladin, that Archmage is relatively close to level 6, not that I think it matters a whole lot at this stage of the game.
Yeah, 1 minute, and I think Hein should really consider to backstab Eshan and just kill one hero. Killing the Archmage, better than nothing. Like, that will be level 6 easy for that Paladin, so...
Absolutely, I think we see somebody focus that Archmage at about 35 seconds left in the game. I'm not sure if it'll be Hein backstabbing or it'll be a concerted push by Great Wall, but here we go. We do see, looks like, not stabbing from Hein, although Eshan is certainly worried about that happening. Level 6 on the Paladin. There we go, we saw the transmute pop off, and is this going to be the stab? We do see what looks like it could be an incoming surround here. Nope, still coordinated teaming on their part, trying to take out some of Great Wall's buildings. GG comes in from Eshan. He is going to try and keep his heroes as far out of range as possible, and the Death Knight does get stunned here, getting low, does have a TP on him, going to TP back. Play it safe, smart move from Great Wall here. 15 seconds left in the game. And looks like this is the way that it's going to break. What's your prediction on who's the winner, Hightac?
I think the Great Wall should have it, I guess. But it could be very close. Let's see.
I think it is going to be very close. Ooh, and just in the nick of time on that Death Knight going down.
But I think that wouldn't have been enough to get Hein to the top. It was a fun game. So the Great Wall, I think deservedly makes it to the finals. He got rushed and then he set back hoarded a bit, but he was always active. I think he ignored Hein for too long, but eventually Hein maybe set a bit too long. So I think Hein would have just needed to act a bit more in order to deservedly win this.
Yep, I agree with that. You know, as somebody that doesn't know Hein at all, I thought that he played really well. I was impressed by that. He certainly kept up with Eshan, Great Wall, and Hawk, all of whom are great players in their own respective right. And definitely a good game overall. I mean, I liked the way it ended. I think this would have played out much differently if there was no time limit. All the players clearly felt forced by that, but I think it was a really fun end to it, and it certainly kept us in suspense for most of it.
Yeah, for sure. So we have our first two finalists. It's the German